New education policy was introduced by government in 2020. Prior to new education policy, every state had its own curriculum. So publishers like us used to make different books for different states. So our cost of creating the product was high, and we used to print in less quantity because of the amount of business. We don't know how much we'll get from that particular state, or also depending on the population of that state. Even the cost of creation was high, cost of production was also high because quantities were not in bulk. After new education policy, what has happened is that now we have one curriculum from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So now in across three different boards, now we are only creating three different products could be sold across the country. So the cost of creation also came down, and this product now is being printed in bulk quantities. Cost of production also came down. 10,000 schools where our product adoption is 20% or 30%. That means maybe they are using one or two textbooks or series from my company. Post IPO, I want to target 25,000 schools at least.
Hi everyone, welcome to Sunday Investing. This is the 24th episode of Know Your Promoter series where we talk to promoters of companies which are bringing their IPO and try and understand from them the business model of the company and vision behind bringing their IPO. Today we have with us Mr. Harish Dachepalli, who is the Executive Director for Dachepalli Publishers, the IPO for which is opening from 22nd of December to 24th of December. Welcome to the show, Harish ji.
Thank you, Manish ji. Thank you for introducing us, and thank you for taking our interview today.
Sir, maybe to start with, can you walk us through, because I was seeing this is a fairly old business, started in 1998. Can you walk us through your professional journey? How did you ended up deciding to form publishing house?
This company initially started in the year 1908, almost 100 years now, by my great grandfather. It was in the beginning as a retail outlet where we were doing education supplies to schools. Later on, when my grandfather took over this company, he made it into a publishing company. So then slowly from one book to two books to three books, like that, we started expanding. My father got into full-fledged publishing, and he was operating in one state of Andhra Pradesh, that is Andhra and Telangana combined state. Later on, me and my brother joined this company like 13 years, 10 years back, and we slowly started expanding into other regions from Karnataka to Tamil Nadu to Kerala, Goa, Madhya Pradesh. Since we are from the south, we built a strong network in the south. But going forward, we want to become a national player by doing all the 28 states and 8 union territories of the country.
Understood, sir. Sir, can you help explain the publishing business to a layman? Simply because I understand the value chain is fairly long. There are different people. You will have authors on your book, then you will have some kind of a printing press, either contractual or your own. And then on the other side as well, you will have distributors, you will have e-commerce, then you will have different schools. So can you help us explain the value chain and what all does Dachepalli do with each part of the value chain?
So I'll explain you with the process. Usually, what happens is boards like CBSE and ICSE, they come up with a certain guidelines. So we have in-house authors and editors who take those guidelines and create the manuscript or the lesson just to for the layman terms. They create that manuscript. Then we do all the editing, proofreading on that lesson. Then we push it to design, where we draw the images, we make the illustration of the book. Once that is finalized, the final proofreading happens. After that, we print sample copies and give it to top schools and also the department to take their opinion. Once we get opinion from them, depending on their opinion, we make the required changes inside the book. Then we go for bulk printing. Once the book is bulk printed, we start distributing samples to schools in as a promotional activity. And then when the book gets prescribed inside the school, we route these orders through our distributors. So this is a basic framework, but yes, it's a very long process because from editorial to content division, when you create content, you should keep a lot of things in mind, like regional politics or geographical issues and state-wise any kind of sentiments in the state. Keeping all that religion and all that in as a very important player, we have to design it. It's like a holistic thing, and a lot of man work goes behind it, and now a little bit of AI also we are using to integrate this whole system. And like my family has been a part of education and publishing over a century, and I think it has been a part of my upbringing. So the way I look at my professional journey here is modernizing this traditional setup. So I will come here. After I come here, I started establishing new processes, expanding reach in the business, and integrating technology into the company and also into our product. So this is what has been my journey. And yes, we have our own printing press where 90% of our production now happens in-house. For 6, 7 years back, most of the production used to happen outsourced, but then we were facing a lot of problems with that. Timely delivery was not there, and school business is like that. Unless until you deliver any product, how good or bad your product is, if it doesn't reach on time, then they will cancel your order. So that logistics has to be sorted. So production also has to be sorted accordingly. When you're depending on third party, they might be taking orders from multiple other customers. So it might not actually set up your schedule or your urgent needs. So when we started our own backward integration and we got all the production inside, couple of things we could control: one, production; one, timely delivery; third, quality of the product also. So that's how our journey was so far.
Understood, sir. And sir, let's say I'm a student at a school and like I have to read a book. Why, like what schools look at? Like why would they prescribe a one book over the other? Simply because I'm assuming the policy would say sample that this is what the curriculum should have, right? And then let's say Dachepalli is writing a book, similar books will also exist from other publishers as well, right? So what helps schools in order to choose which publisher to go with?
So thing is, since we are such an old player in the market, there's a lot amount of trust which we have built over in the time of schools. So usually any publisher comes out with a new product. He usually prints 2,000, 3,000 copies in a quantity, and then he circulates it and then sees how's the response for it. But in my case, our trial run or sample run is only 15,000 copies. So you can imagine the trust we built over time. So these things take some time. You need a lot of patience to get that. But it's not just the features in the book. We also tell the schools the outcome they come out of our products. So we design the products also in a method where the outcome is so good that end of the day child is benefited. So when our team is able to convince the school that these are all the merits of the product, then adoption rate gets faster. But now it's not just textbook. We've integrated technology, Edtech vertical all together like a basket. We are selling it to schools. So then our USPs become much more stronger than that.
Sir, what I understand, we have IP in terms of the books that we write. So, what do we do in order to protect that IP? Because I understand there would be some kind of counterfeiting as well, right? Or is that common, or is that not what you see?
In educational industry, counterfeiting is not at all common, because the reason why being is this is a credit based industry, and once you make the product, you have to stock it for a couple of months, then you have to promote that product and sell that product. So this is a lot of capital intensive job. So nobody would want to take a risk on a product which stays on a shelf life for a longer time. Usually when something which can be sold in 24 hours, well, that such products can be copied like a novel or some commercial product. But in education product, there's a long cycle. Once you make the product, stock it, sell it, return stock will also be there, protected. In this whole channel, if you do some counterfeiting, you'll get caught. Then automatically there'll be legal channels proceeding that issue, and cease and desist notice will come across and all. So nobody usually takes that wrong decision. Anyway, you're spending so much money on running the show, might as well create your own content. So, and most of the publishers in this industry we are competitors in the market, but we all have good relationships outside. So, yeah, however big this industry is, number of publishers are still less, and all of us have good faith and relationship with each other. So, I've not seen anybody doing that so far.
Understood. That's helpful. That's helpful. And so, because there are new curriculums prescribed multiple times from the state boards and CBSE, so is there a risk of inventory not being used because the inventory gets old, and then what do you do with it? Is there salvage value, etc., of those books?
Usually, what happens is, let's say CBSE or State Board or ICICI, definitely one person from the company is always involved with the departments. Let's say if there are 600 publishers, there are regular meetings from the department saying that we want to introduce this particular book in the next coming 2, 3 years. So we are all well aware that okay, maybe government is going to change science for the next 2, 3 years, or general knowledge in the next 4, 5 years, or grammar in next 2, 3 years. When we are, because they also have a lot of discussions, they take our opinions also, because private publishers also control a good amount of education sector in private schools. So they take our opinion feedbacks, and we also get feedbacks in development of our product from schools. We share that feedback also with the government to create new guidelines. In this process, we are well aware that the next 2 years what book is going to change, next 5 years what book is going to change. When we know that information, we reduce the stock levels We make it slowly that next we bring down the production of that particular product. But yes, obviously there will be some pilferage or leftover here and there which we scrap.
Understood, understood, sir. And sir, one more question from my end. From what I'm seeing, that the working capital cycle, like you also mentioned, is fairly wrong, right? Can you walk us through what your working capital cycle looks like?
So working capital, to be in the industry of publishing, you should understand that working capital should is at least 5 months. What happens is by September 30th of any year, your product has to be printed, ready, kept in stock for sale. Because October to December, most of the CBSE, ICC schools will place orders, and from January to April, May, state board schools place orders. And what happens is, let's say I'm from Hyderabad, and some school from Kolkata, SCBSE school from Kolkata want to place an order. He would take maths from a Hyderabad company, science from a Gujarat company, social from a Mumbai company. So they have to procure material from different publishers across the country, and they have to stock it, make sets out of it, and supply to schools and parents and just before the reopening. So across India, we all know that standard reopening time is in June.
Yeah.
So schools start getting revenue on textbooks or any educational material is from June 15 onwards. From June 15 to 60 to 90 days, most of our payments are recovered. But since we stock up early and since we dispatch also early, because let's say I'm doing 10,000 schools right now, I can't supply 10,000 schools in 20 days. So I need at least 3 to 4 months to just to dispatch that stock. And we dispatch in advance, we take early orders from school, and thankfully schools also cooperate because they want good product at their end. So they don't mind placing the order 1 or 2 months early. Just because our invoice is arising early doesn't mean it is accruing today. It will only get accrued in June. So
Understood.
that is, and this problem you'll see not only in our industry, and you'll also see it in granules industry. And to tell you very frankly, we all mark up our MRPs with the interest cost of 6 months like that. So we are all sorted, and this is a highly profitable business. We are happy that way. So we have no complaints as with publishers. But yes, academic cycles and financial cycles are two different models. For to look at it from the financial model, it looks like higher receivables are high. But if you look at it from an academic cycle, yes, we have a couple of 2 to 3 quarters as a peak seasons. That point of time we have sales. Other 2 quarters we recover our money and we are sorted.
Understood. Understood. And sir, I was looking that the business has been growing fairly well from 40 CR of top line in FY23 to somewhere around 64 CR of top line. And the bottom line margins have also increased. What is the reason for the increase in margins?
To answer this question, we should go back to 2015, 16, 16, 17, or 17, 18. All these 3 years also, we were relatively having a good performance around 40 to 50 crores per annum
Okay.
with the same amount of margins which we are doing right now. Later on, what happened in 2020, 2020, COVID came in being. So 2020, 2021, 2022, these two academic cycles, there were no schools. So because the schools were closed, all publishers produce or whatever stock kept ready for the coming season didn't get sold. So they were all lying in the stock. So we all had a major hit like around 20, 25 crores, depending on the size of the publisher, had to face that kind of loss. So that loss backlogging went ahead till 23, 22 and 23. And then obviously there was no business. So the turnover also will match, but none of us have never removed any employees also. Because all of these employees, at least in my company, have been with us for more than 30, 40 years. So they have become like a family. So whatever cost or loss we had to face, we faced that loss, but we took that hit. But once when the market picked up, I think God has been really kind on us that within 2 years we recovered back our turnovers. So from 40 to 50 to 60 years, from 23, 24, 25, we received the turnovers and our margin grew also more. A couple of reasons. One, new education policy was introduced by government in 2020. Prior to new education policy, every state had its own curriculum. So publishers like us used to make different books for different states. So our cost of creating the product was high, and we used to print a less quantity because of the amount of business we don't know how much we'll get from that particular state, or also depending on the population of that state. Even the cost of creation was high, cost of production was also high because quantities were not in bulk. After new education policy, what has happened is that now we have one curriculum from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So now in across three different boards, now we are only creating three different products could be sold across the country. So the cost of creation also came down, and this product now is being printed in bulk quantities. Cost of production also came down. These are two major factors which has grown our profits. And one more thing is, like for example, in 21, I purchased raw material, which is paper. 70% of our raw material is paper, at 150 rupees per kilo. This year I purchased at 70 rupees per kilo. So 50% Paper cost also have come down. And the reason why being is now use of paper has come to very minimal. Only textbooks is where paper is being used. Rest of the things like calendar printing, diary printing, wherever paper was used, it all moved out. Packaging also moved into corrugated boxes. So usage of payment demand fell down. So automatically price also fell down for paper, which has become a great advantage for us where profits grew. And one more thing is now government has removed GST on educational material, that is textbooks and notebooks. So going forward, we are estimating another 18 to 15% reduce in our costing, where which will our margins will grow even more. So
Understood.
these are
That's
the
helpful.
reasons.
That's helpful to understand, sir. Policy tailwinds and economies of scale playing in together is always helpful. Can you also help us through what EdTech vertical do you like? What is the vision behind bringing the IPO? Why the IPO? Also talk a bit about the objects. What would you will do with the funds, etc.
So yeah, let's get into about Edtech first. So what has happened is, publishers like us, we were always, stereotyped to saying that, you're a traditional publisher or you guys are only looking into textbooks. That's not true. We publishers, let it be anybody in India, are the first people who got technology inside. How, if you remember a couple of years back, every textbook had a CD inside. The CD had all the required animations, softwares, but it was not widely used because usage of technology was not that great in the market back then. And when COVID hit and schools got closed, edtech companies started that boom that we are the ones who brought technology inside. We are the ones. Even though we got technology into the market, we never took credit for it. Unfortunately, they took credit for that issue, and then they became a wide thing. Only thing changed was from writing a CD. Now we all moved into applications where you can download in your Android or iOS apps that particular app now has almost the same technology from videos to lesson plans to micro schedules to even test generator softwares, complete LMS system. So after COVID, all publishers decided that we'll all get in technology inside the company. We'll have an edtech vertical altogether, and this particular vertical will create all the technology needed, all the videos needed for each and every chapter in the textbook. And let's say I have almost spent 3 to 4 crores in the last couple of years only on creating technology for my textbooks. So what has happened when I'm selling millions of copies, like around 4 or 5 million copies, divided by the 3 to 4 crores I've spent on technology, it's hardly coming to 3 to 4 rupees per textbook. So when it is that cheap, why should I even look at it as a revenue model? What we did is increased our MRPs by 10 to 12 rupees on the textbooks, started providing technology for free. Now schools can use our technology suite or technology platform from even mark the teacher's attendance, student attendance, create tests. We have integrated artificial intelligence AI into our test generators where in case after every chapter, if the teacher pushes a test to the student's app and depending on the results, AI will suggest the teacher saying that, the topic which you taught yesterday, the kids have not understood it. Maybe you should revise it again. So he'll give such feedbacks and topics like mathematics that AI will automatically put worksheets to students for additional practice. So there's a lot more things happening that way. And when a small time a tech company who's created all this tool and where they are going and trying to sell this tool to the schools themselves are telling that all these publishers are already providing it for free. I don't see any reason to buy it. So that's how we mitigated that problem. Now we are selling that together, technology and textbook. So
Understood.
and now demand for textbook is there. We are printing. If the demand moves to ebook, we are ready to supply ebook even today.
Understood, sir. And sir, can you help us explain the raise 40 CR raise? What would the objects of the issue be?
So right now we are present in almost all the states in South and around 10,000 schools in 10 states. So we are raising 40 crores through our IPO, out of the which 25 crores we'll be using to set up business across the country. We want to build team, set up offices in each and every state, district level wise employees. And in terms of SKU, right now we are at 600 SKUs. To have a complete ecosystem of education, you need close to 900 SKUs. So next 2 years, we'll bring in that additional 300 SKUs to have that full-fledged content with us. That is another reason. And also purchasing of raw material in bulk. If you do that, we'll get additional bulk discounts, which will help us grow in our margins. This is one thing. And another 6 crores, we want to clear off a bank loan. That bank loan also we took to establish our plant and machinery. So now once we clear that loan, we can use better our money in better ways. That's the only thing.
Understood, sir. So two more questions which I can think at the top of my head. Can you help us explain the breakup of do you participate in government school tenders, etc., or is it mostly private? And what's the reason for the same? If you could. explain that, then I'll come
Yeah,
back
so
to it.
from the Dachepalli's business, 95% of the Dachepalli's business comes from private schools where we try to sell our curriculum, which we design for them. And 5%, or actually less than 5%, we take up government orders. And we are not very keen on taking government orders also because, first of all, the margin is very low and payment from government is also a very delayed process. So these are the two reasons. And government also doesn't use good quality paper, which is affecting our machines also in one way. So we are happy doing our business. And right now, even if you look at our market share, it's less than 2%. So there's a huge potential upside. Might as well just create our product and try to push it across the country, scale it up across the country. We are sorted that way. That's why we're not very keen on government orders.
Understood, sir. Sir, and in terms of the growth plans, you mentioned that you are just 2% of the market share, etc. Without giving numbers, where do you think the business would essentially go towards? What is the vision of the management for the next 2, 3, 4 years? What do you want to, where do you want to see the business? And maybe also, what message would you want to leave your potential shareholders with right now who would be joining your journey as IPO shareholders right now?
Yeah, so post IPO in the next 2 to 3 years, we are right now at 10,000 schools where our product adoption is 20% or 30%. That means maybe they are using one or two textbooks or series from my company. Post IPO, I want to target 25,000 schools at least across the country with at least 30% product adoption. That is maybe three subjects or four projects for my company. And recently we did some pilot projects in terms of technology where we created an e-commerce vertical where our tech team creates a special link for the school, and then school pushes that links to parents where they can purchase all the academic needs from textbooks to notebooks to stationery. So we've been only been selling textbooks for so now, and and we did our pilot projects went very well. And going forward, we'll scale up a little bit there also. And what happened with that technology was from where our product adoption was 20%. Because of the technology tool, we built so much relationship with the school when you're continuously beating them. It has gone to 60% of the products adoption inside the school. So this will be our vision going forward. 25,000 schools. See how much we can convert onto e-commerce model, and there also more technology and alternate sources of revenue we are getting from selling stationery as well as notebooks. This will be a thing, and the message I want to leave to my investors is: see, you are trusting a very old brand and which has taken a lot of time and again to build this trust among schools. And it has not just been growth; it has been a very sustainable growth for us. And going forward, it is the right way to say that you are investing in a sustainable growing company.
Understood, sir. No, no, definitely. To be able to work with 10,000 schools is a big feat, and the target
Trusting
of 25,000 schools is also an ambitious one. But yeah, I wish you all the best, sir.
imagine our packing system. We have to pack different, 10,000 schools means almost 10,000 packets with multiple subjects. So they without error, because let's say if I make one small error to a product which is going to Shillong or Meghalaya, my transportation cost also will increase. So we build that robust system inside to make sure that zero error, timely delivery goes on. So now we are prepared to replicate this model in 25,000 schools. We have enough space also, warehousing as well as production spaces to take this demand.
Understood, sir. Understood. Thank you, sir, so much. Thank you so much for talking to us. I'll just reiterate for all our listeners, the IPO for Dachepalli Publishers is open from 22nd December to 24th of December. Please go through the DRSP once and take a call basis interview as well as the DRSP. Thank you, sir, for talking to us today. Have all the best for your IPO.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for taking us today.